On the night of July 22nd, 1991, I made my way to a bar in Grand Avenue Mall. It was a Monday night, so it was kind of quiet, but I soon noticed three young, very good-looking guys sitting together. I was sure that I had seen one of them here before, and had even said hello to him a few times, but I still didn't even know his name. And I was sure that he didn't know mine. At around 6 p.m., I decided to approach the three men, and by doing so, had inadvertently set in motion a chain of events that would culminate with me being arrested and my apartment becoming one of the biggest news stories in the world. I chatted with the three men for a while. They were real friendly dudes. I said that I had just flown in from Chicago as my grandmother was sick. That was the first lie I told. The second lie I told them was that I was a professional photographer. I told the guys that if any of them wanted to make some quick cash, all they had to do was come back to my place and pose for a few photos. I did make it clear that if they agreed to the photo shoot, they would have to pose nude. To my joy, one of the guys seems really interested. His name is Tracy Edwards. He's 32 years old. Fast forward about half an hour, and I'm standing outside Grand Avenue Mall with Tracy and his two friends. We walk to a liquor store as I want to buy some booze first. All I want at this moment is for Tracy's friends to get lost. They talk about going to meet up with some girls, and I want to scream at them, "Yes, go meet up with your girlfriends and leave me and Tracy alone." Outside the liquor store, Tracy bumps into his brother, and they talk while I go to get the booze. When I come back out, Tracy's brother is gone, but his two friends are still there. While Tracy goes to hail a cab, one of his friends asks me for my address. The last thing I want is to get Tracy inside my apartment, only for his chums to show up later and disturb us. So I give them a fake address, and with that, they walk off. Tracy and I jump into a cab, but I don't tell the driver to bring us to North 25th Street, which is the street where my apartment was at the time. Instead, I tell the cabbie to let us out a couple of blocks away. After grabbing a pack of smokes from a store, Tracy and I start walking to my apartment. I'm very careful. We take a series of back alleys to get to my apartment block. I want as few people as possible to see me in Tracy's company. Tracy seems a little confused by the route we're taking, and I just kind of shrug and tell him that it's safer this way. I tell him about my time in the Army, obviously neglecting to mention the numerous colleagues that I drugged and abused during my service. Tracy tells me that he's what is known as a military brat. His father was in the Air Force, and he was born in Fort Carson in Colorado. We reach my apartment, and the smell is nothing short of horrendous. Tracy gives me a look, and I tell him that a sewer pipe broke. This seems to satisfy him, and he doesn't seem suspicious or anything, which is understandable. I mean, which is more likely that the foul smell is from a broken sewer pipe or decomposing body parts that I have scattered around my apartment. We step inside my apartment. I switch off the burglar alarm while Tracy looks around the place. His attention is drawn to several boxes of hydrochloric acid that I have sitting on the floor of the living room. "Oh, that's for cleaning brick with," I tell him. It's another lie, obviously. We sit down on my sofa, and I ask Tracy if he is still interested in doing the photo shoot. He tells me that he is still contemplating whether or not to go ahead with it. I asked Tracy if he would like a drink, and when he says that he would, I grab us both a beer. I also get Tracy a rum and coke. The rum and coke is laced with sedatives, but much to my annoyance, Tracy just sips at it. Apparently, he isn't fond of hard liquor. I should have poured his beer into a glass and spiked it instead. We talked back and forth for a while, but it's obvious that Tracy isn't going to drink the cocktail that I've given him, so it's time to resort to Plan B. I ask him what he thinks of my fish tank, and when he turns his head to look at it, I slap a cuff on his wrist. Before I can get the other cuff onto the other wrist, though, he recoils and tells me that what I am doing isn't necessary. I press a large knife against his body and warn him that if he doesn't do what I say, I'll kill him. Tracy seems confused, offended even, but more than anything, he is absolutely terrified. Good. He should be scared. I lead Tracy to the refrigerator and tell him to get another beer. When he opens the door to the fridge, I see the panic in his eyes. You see, there's more than just beer in my refrigerator. There's a heart, a pair of hands, I think, and at least 2 skulls. Beautiful, isn't it? I ask him. I lead Tracy to the bedroom. We're going to watch a movie, I tell him. He's not exactly in a position to argue. If you were to ask a person what their favorite film is, The Exorcist 3 probably wouldn't be their response. But I absolutely love this movie. It's about a serial killer who is able to possess people, to have complete and total control over them. So you can see why I liked it so much. I order Tracy to sit on the end of the bed next to me. We watch the movie for a while. There's a large blue drum sitting in the corner of the room, which is the source of, for the most part, the stench of death that permeates my apartment. Tracy doesn't bother to ask me why I have a 57-gallon drum in my bedroom. I'm sure he's probably curious, but right now he's choosing his words very carefully. After a while, I order Tracy to lie face down on the floor. He's not in much of a position to argue, but I notice that he doesn't quite lie all the way down. He's more on his side than anything. That's smart, I guess. He knows that if I get the other cuff onto his other wrist, then whatever thin sliver of hope he has of leaving my apartment alive will be gone. I've still got the knife, though, so that means that I'm the one with the power. I get down on the floor and lie next to him, pressing the knife against his body just in case he gets any ideas. I hold my head to his chest, listening to his heartbeat. I'm planning on eating Tracy's heart, and I actually tell him that. He doesn't say a word. We just lie there for a while. Then Tracy tells me he needs to use the toilet. I lead him to the bathroom, watching him the entire time. I've already told this man that if he doesn't find a way to kill me, then I'm going to kill him. We go back to the bedroom and sit down. I tell Tracy that nobody ever cared for me, that everybody always leaves me. He assures me that he is my friend and that he won't try to leave. He even takes off his shirt, as if he's making himself at home. We sit down on a couch. I'm feeling kind of spaced out. I'm not all there. Tracy must notice this too, because he hits me pretty hard across the face and runs for the door. I snap back to reality and lunge after Tracy. We struggle for a while, but ultimately he succeeds in getting the door open. The next thing I know, he's running down the corridor, screaming and roaring at the top of his lungs. There's no use in going after him. I go back inside the apartment, shut the door, and wait for my retribution, which is now inevitable. Not long after Tracy Edwards made his escape from my apartment, 2 cops knocked on my door. Tracy was with them. He still had the handcuffs on him, dangling from one wrist. One of the cops asked me if I put the cuffs on Tracy. I tell them that I did. Remember, Tracy is shirtless at this point. I'm sure he's told the two cops quite a story about his time in my apartment. But whether or not the cops believe him is another matter. There's a good chance that the two police officers think this is nothing more than a lover's quarrel. They ask me if I have a key for the cuffs. I can still get out of this, I reckon. All I have to do is get the cuffs off Tracy's wrist, and there's a good chance the cops will just leave it at that. I mean, it's his word against mine. I need to play this cool. I tell the two cops that, yes, I do have a key for the cuffs, and I would gladly get it for them. They ask to come inside. I know they don't have a warrant, but I don't want them to become suspicious, so I let them in. I can tell they're pretty aghast about the smell, so I say that some pork chops went bad. First mistake. I told Tracy a few hours earlier that the foul smell was from a broken sewer pipe. One of the cops asks me where the key for the cuff is. I tell him that it's in the bedroom and offer to go get it, but the other cop orders me to stay where I am. The key for the cuffs is in my bedside dresser. Unfortunately for me, there also happen to be numerous Polaroids of various body parts of my numerous victims. You see how macabre now it was for me to ask Tracy Edwards back at the bar if he would like to be in one of my photo shoots. I was practically trolling the guy. He just didn't know it. Well, not at first anyway. The officer moves to my bedroom and returns a few moments later. I can't remember if he had the key, but he did have a handful of the incriminating Polaroids. The man was like a ghost. He'd just seen a glimpse of hell. "These are for real," he says to his partner. I know now that the jig is up. I run for the door, but it's no use. They pin me to the ground, and in an act of truly poetic justice, they cuff my hands behind my back. I had brought Tracy Edwards to my apartment for the purpose of controlling him, of having total control over his body. Now, I was the submissive one. Some of the photographs clearly show body parts stored in my fridge, and maybe this is why one of the cops opens my refrigerator. When he does, he is greeted by a severed head on one of the shelves. He looks down at me as if I am Lucifer himself. Maybe just to show him that I actually do have a shred of humanity left, I say. For what I did, I should be dead. The cops bring me down to the station. Meanwhile, Milwaukee's Criminal Investigation Bureau were going over my apartment with a fine-tooth comb. They uncovered an assortment of skulls, organs, body parts, and even 2 entire skeletons. The chief medical examiner would later observe that it was more like dismantling somebody's museum than a crime scene. Word soon spread that something truly terrible was going on at my apartment block. The local press descended upon the scene. Soon, media outlets from all over the world were making their way to Milwaukee. My killing spree that had begun some 13 years earlier was now at an end. It was time now for me to come clean and tell detectives everything they wanted to know, warts and all. But that's a story for another day.